Well, in this video I will show you how can we play League of Legends or any other video game on the computer using computer vision and MediaPipe. It is kind of simple and really interesting. All that we need to do is to capture end gestures like this one and trigger the abilities to kill our enemies. So basically our goal here is to detect end gestures like the Q, so for example the E or the W, and also of course the R, so we can do our ultimates. And how are we going to do this in this tutorial? We will use OpenCV, MediaPipe and a custom library that is awesome to train custom end gestures. And after training our own model with these end gestures, we are going to trigger some abilities like this Q based on the gestures that we define, which is a pretty interesting computer vision project. So make sure that you stick around and watch this tutorial to the end. It is pretty simple. Let's go. So basically the main code source that we are going to use, because we are not doing this from scratch, is the one that is available in this Github repository. And basically this is an English translation version from the original one, which is in Japanese. Feel free to use the one that you want, but basically this project or this program allow us to do some end gesture recognition and end signs recognition in a customizable way. And we will also add some custom code to allow us to do some inputs based on our end gestures to the League of Legends or any other game that you want to try out. So basically the first thing that you need to do is to download or clone this repository, and then you need to create an environment with these requirements. So we will use the MediaPipe, OpenCV, TensorFlow, scikit-learn and matplotlib. And after downloading these files and building an environment with these requirements, you can take a look at these files. So basically we have here a app.py that is the main file from this program, and we have here also another couple of things that we should customize for our project. But before anything else, I will show you by running this what this program is doing. So basically here you can see that we have our hand being recognized. Right now it says that it is closed, it is also open, or it is pointing. And it also has, this program also has this, let's say, point history, and it is also recording the figure gesture. So right now I'm stopped, now I start moving, and then I think it also say clockwise and counterclockwise. Yeah, right now it is displaying all of these features. It has already a model that is pre-trained for these gestures, and what we want to do is to train our own gestures to play video games. Basically this is the baseline. If you right after you download this, you can run this program and see if it is working. You should do that before going to the next steps. So basically we can close this with escape. So if we take a look at the code, in here we have the default or the arguments and default arguments that we can use in this program. Basically if you use the command line, but for example here right now I change this to default equal 1, because since I'm running this in the Visual Studio Code, I need to use the camera 1, because the default, which is the 0, is the one recording the video. Then we have the main function that has essentially all the things that we are going to do here. And one of the main things that we need to look is the while loop, because this while true loop will keep running constantly the code to process each frame captured by the webcam to recognize the hand gesture at each frame captured. Also, an important thing here is that in here we are using the model from the MediaPipe, the model that is recognizing the hand landmarks. And basically in this while true loop, for each frame we get the results from the hands model, and these results, if there is multi-hand landmarks, we will be processing all the hand landmarks to detect our gestures. So basically to train our own hand gestures, we need to modify a couple of things, and we are going to do it right away. So if you go here to model and then key point classifier, and you open up this key point classifier label, these are the labels that we want to classify, and we have open, close, pointer and OK, and we'll change these to other labels. So right now we want to say that we have no key. We want the Q, W, E and R. So basically we will train our model for these keys, and you can also train for example, ability 1. I already have done this in the past. Ability 2. For what? For in the case of League of Legends, you can add these, the flash and ignite in these abilities. But basically we are going to use only these 4 and the no key for the closed hands. So it is our default hand position, so we don't press any key. Then we'll press Q, W, E and R. So we save this file, and then one thing that we need to do to train our model to learn, let's say these labels, the new signs for these labels, we need to open this key point classification in English. And in here is where we are going to train our model. The only thing that you need to change here is the number of classes. So if you have here 5 labels, you need to change this number of classes to 5. If you have 3, change to 3. If you have more, you can change to more. The important thing here is that you can only have 10. And why? Because we are assigning each end sign to a number between 0 and 9. And how do we capture the data to train our model? Because if you take a look at here at the model and key point classifier, besides the key point classifier label, we also have the key points. So basically, if you open up this, you have here a lot of data. For each value that you see here, so each one of these values, it is the hand and landmarks from a single hand. And one thing, interesting thing here is the first number is the index of the label that you will train. So right now we have 0 here, we have 1, it's the first number 1, and 2, and so on. So basically you can delete this one to train your model with only the data that we will save. And to save our data here for our signs and labels, you can run again this app. So when you run this, once you already have changed your labels, you can see that our labels are already being displayed here. But now to train our own model and collect our key points, we need to do one thing. Right now, if you click K, you have here the mode logging key points. And right now you can press, don't press yet, but you can press between 0 and 9 to start recording your hand gestures. And how are we going to do this? So for the first one, you can start pressing 0 and you can see the number 0 is being displayed there. What we are doing is to record all the hand landmarks, data points and numbers that we have our hand every time you press 0. So you need to press a lot of times 0 to record all of these data points. And if you come here, you can see that we already have a lot of data for our hand signed for the no key label. And the more you press, let's see if it is displayed here. So I'll be pressing 0. Yeah, it is recording all the data points from each hand landmark. And after pressing a couple of good times this, so press far away from the camera, close in different positions and angles. You can also move a little bit your fingers, because the more data you have, the better for your model. And then for the Q, we can start pressing the number 1 key. You can do this for wherever hand sign that you want. So for example, we can go with this index finger up, and you can start pressing the number 1 key. And you can see here in the corner, it is number 1, number 1, number 1. So, and every time you press, it will keep being recorded in here. So this key point CSV is saving all the key points and the hand landmarks from this finger. And you should record all of these movements or all of these angles and positions, so it can be a very robust model. So keep pressing, have a lot of data points to train your model, because that's exactly what we are going to do after this. We are going to train our own model. Right now, let's go to the W. So we want for the W can be this one. So, and we are going to press the number 2. So press the number 2 in different positions, different angles, close to the camera, far away from the camera, a little bit close, the fingers, like this, or a little bit far away from each other. Yeah, basically this should be enough. Let's go for the E in the number 3. So the E will be the number 3, press number 3 a lot of times, close to the camera, far away, with your hands almost close to each other, far away, the fingers far away from each other as well. So you can press in different angles. And the last one will be the rock sign for the R, for the ultimate, and it will be the key number 4. So let's do it. Fingers close to each other, far away from each other, in different angles. Keep doing that. The more data you have, probably the better. You just need to be careful and not mixed positions, and guarantee that you are pressing always the same number. So right now you can close these with escape. Then if you go here, you can see that we have a ton of data for the keys from 0 to 4. And then you need to go to this keep on classification in English. Once again, the number of classes should be equal to the number of labels that you have in this CSV. So in our case, at least here 5. And then all you need to do is to run all and basically check if you have any error here. But if you install all the requirements for this project, it should be fine. And in here, if you take a look, we are building a model with TensorFlow Keras, and basically our model is being trained right now. It had early stopping, okay. And if you take a look at the confusion matrix, you can see here that we have a lot of data for each position, at least for the first 2. In here we don't have a lot, but that's alright. And here in the classification report, we can see how good our final model is for each label. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we have, for example, precision very, very high. I think we have everything set up to run this again with our new model in position. So we should be able to identify, or at least the model should be able to identify and recognize our new end signs, the signs that we defined for each label. So as you can see, we have here already our end gestures being recognized with the signs that we trained the model for. And that's perfect. I think that is working perfect. So the first one is no key. So, and you can see that the close hand is no key, and we won't be pressing any key in this position. This, the pointer up, will be the Q. So every time we want to do a Q, we'll be doing this. This one will be the W. I think it is working fine. And the E, the 3 fingers up, that's working perfectly. Look at this. It doesn't even matter the background, if it is in front of me or in the wall. And finally, we have the R for our ultimate. It is working pretty well at 20 FPS per second. So of course, that's not a really good FPS for games, but this is for the sake of fun. I think we are ready to customize our code to give the inputs to the League of Legends or any other game, as I told you before. Yeah, basically that's it. Here is our custom model for our end gestures. And it is basically why this repository is so good, because it is a really good program and you can do your custom model anytime you want. So after this, if you want, you can do any other project with any other gestures and labels. Moving on to the next part of this video, the customization of the code for our gameplay. Also, don't forget to leave a like if you're enjoying this video, and if you're having any trouble, leave a comment below and I will try to help you. Now it's time to change the codes to adapt it to use inputs into the game. So basically, one of the things that we need to import is the keyboard library. So import keyboard. This library allows us to use some inputs to the keyboard using Python, and it is really simple to use. Another thing that we are going to use is the time library. And regarding package and libraries, that's all that we need to import. Then you go to the line 100, and in here we need to do a couple of things before entering in the while loop. So here we need to define a couple of variables that we need as default before entering in the while loop. And we also need to define a dictionary for our keys. And for that, let's go with the gesture map, and then will be assigned to a dictionary where Q will be the Q. We can also start with the no key. So the no key will be assigned to none. And then the Q, and then we do the same for the E, the same for the W, and the same for the R. So let's go with that. So here we go with W, W, E, E, R, and R. So basically this dictionary will be used to map our keys. Also, if you'd like to add more keys, feel free to do it here. Then we need to set up the current gesture as none. So we start with none in the current gesture. We will also use times for our gestures, and I will explain why in a second. So last gesture time will be assigned to 0. Then we also need a debounce delay, and we can write the delay of .2, and lastly a pressed key assigned to none. And basically these are the initial variable states that we will need to use. Here, within the while loop on line 160, it can be somewhere around here, we are going to set our logic to send these keys to the keyboard. So first of all, we need to define the gesture that we will be using. So this gesture will be assigned to the gesture map, and here we will get the key points classifier labels and the hand sign ID. So basically we are going to use the hand sign ID that is defined here, and the key point classifier labels will be from this CSV. And now for the logic for the keys, let's do a snap transition. So if the gesture is different from the current gesture, which is for example the none in the cold start that we defined up here, so we start by saying that the current gesture is none, and as soon as the code hits this if statement, if the gesture is different because it already captured a hand gesture sign in here, it will run the code inside of the if condition. And we start by setting the current time to the actual current time. And if current time minus last gesture time, which is also defined here, as you remember, we defined that to 0 for the cold start, is bigger or equal to the debounce delay, which we also define once again here to 0.2 seconds, we will do the code inside here. If not, this debounce delay is very important and you can adjust it to the value that you want. Right now we have 0.2 because we don't want to have misuse when doing the hand gesture. So for example, you want to do you want to do the E, and when opening up the fingers, it might detect that it is, for example, a Q that is only this finger. So basically that's why we have this Debounce delay. So we can avoid the misinterpretation of the computer vision of our end gesture. Let's jump this section. If there is a gesture, this is if the gesture is not known, keyboard press gesture. And we define that the pressed key is this gesture. And why? Because in here, if there is a pressed key, we say that the keyboard can release that key. Remember, but this only happens when the gesture is different from the current gesture. So for example, right now at every frame it is in the while loop, it is constantly recognizing that it is no key. So the key that it is recurring is none. So it is not doing a single thing. And basically, as soon as I do this, it will detect the Q. So it will enter in the if. So the gesture, which is Q, is different from the current gesture, which was none. And if the current time minus the last gesture time is bigger than the bounce delay, right now there is no pressed key, so it is not releasing. As you see, it is only pressed, and got in the gesture is not none and press the Q. And it will get again in the loop. And once again, if the gesture is different from the current gesture, it will do nothing. So it is always in the loop and it will do nothing while I'm with the Q pressed. But as soon I do any other gesture, you will see that it will release the key pressed, or the pressed key, because the gesture will be different from the current gesture. If there is a pressed key, it will release the pressed key, and we'll see in here, I will do another gesture, and the Q was released. And we can do the same for others. And right now it is releasing again the same key, because when you press again in here, the pressed key exists, but it has completely no effect in the functionality of the code. And in any case, to solve this problem, all that we need to do is to add an and press key different from gesture, and it will be fixed. So for example, we can test this here. So no key, Q is not being displayed, W is, E is, and R is. I don't know why the Q is not displayed. This is not the first time that is happening, but I'm 100% sure that it will work. We are now ready to test our game. And basically here we are to test out this computer vision. Oops, it already happened something. To test out this computer vision to play League of Legends and recognize the keys or recognize the hand gestures to trigger the ability keys. So let's go without further ado. So basically here we have no key, so nothing happens. And let's see once we do the Q. Yeah, it is working perfect. Perfect. Let's see here. W. E, okay. And now the R. Okay. So basically every time you trigger the key, the ability is triggered, and that's okay. So for example, here we have a long press only after releasing the hand gesture, the skill or the key is released, which is great to do what we need. Otherwise, without that logic to implement this, it will be a mess because you cannot do long press. So basically, this is our script or our program to play League of Legends, and I think that's beautiful. One of the things that I really notice is that there is a little bit of delay. So when you try to input a skill, it might take a fraction of a second, but it is noticeable, which is not perfect, but I think that's really cool anyway. But if you want to play this serious, I don't advise you to do so, because it is very hard. But anyway, if you'd like to watch this kind of projects with any other game, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll do a video soon. If you'd like to have more interesting projects in your portfolio, don't forget to subscribe and watch videos like this one. I hope to see you around. Peace. Bye.